What's going on, my speaking? Welcome back to another video. Today we are doing the very first Elestrals deck profile on the channel. I'm really excited to get into this one for a couple of reasons. First of all, tomorrow I'm going to my first ever Elestrals event, like real life Elestrals event. Finally, I have a local store near me that's selling Elestrals, and I'm very excited to get into it. I've been talking to the guy that actually got it in. We are really looking forward to actually get this started and try to teach people how to play. But also, I'm also excited for this because it's the very first Elestrals deck profile on the channel, with the exception of the box opening, the pack opening stuff. I haven't made any Elestrals content, so I'm really excited to actually start to get into this. Today, though, we are doing a bit of a weird one. We're doing a deck that has seen no play because I don't think anyone's even really considering the card in front of you. This is Wind Rune Control, as I like to call it. You might call it Fowlicane Turbo, something like that. This is basically a deck that focuses on preventing your opponent from basically playing runes. It just deals with your opponent's back row as much as you possibly can, and just puts them into deep spots. So we're looking to get some wins with this deck. We'll see how exactly this works out, but without further ado, let's get straight into the deck. So let's start things off. 3 copies of Fowlicane. So Fowlicane's an interesting card. For anyone that comes from Yu-Gi-Oh, you will know basically this card. It's a 2-cost, 7/3 Wind Elestral. That says you can expend 1 wind to destroy all runes, or expend 2 to destroy each of your opponent's runes. So, depending on the amount of life points you pay, this is a Elestral that allows you to either Heavy Storm or Harpy's Feather Dust your opponent, which is just absolutely unbelievable. Especially in the game currently, where runes are like literally everything. This deck, this card does so much. Now, the only issue with this card, it is a 2-cost Elestral, which makes it difficult to actually get out to your side of the field. But with the new support in Frostfall, which I don't have any of the Frostfall cards in this deck yet, just simply because they're too new, and not a whole lot of that has been distributed. In fact, I think only a couple. I actually know, thinking about it now, I don't think any Frostfall has been distributed, with the exception of like what we got in like Shattered Stars with the Frost and Water packs, but this deck isn't playing any of that. The only thing I haven't made changes to this deck. In those upcoming packs, I've actually added a bit of a fire engine to account for stuff like Lavalith, but also for the wind package, I'm also running now Tower of the Winds, which allows you to get into Fowlicane a lot easier. And this card, if it sticks, it can be a menace. I have tested it out in a bunch of different games. If this card sticks on the field, it will be a menace. And typically, if you can tell if it sticks after like 1 turn. If you got a bag of wins in this guy, it is absolutely insane. So I like 3 because it is an unsearchable card, so I like actually playing 3 just to get to more of it. I like it in my opening hand, so I really like the 3 copies. And then obviously we are playing the Pre-Ascension of Pegas. This card just says when it receives 1 or more Wind Spirits, you can target and destroy a rune. Very powerful card. Sees a lot of play in Wind Toolbox decks, and it's just one of the best Wind cards out there right now, so just very powerful. It does a whole lot. Sorry for a little bit of screen shaking, by the way. My desk is not the most sturdy thing in the world, so apologies for that. 3 copies of Sorlet just for an added beat stick. The one thing that this deck struggles with is beating over a lot of your opponent's Elestrals. Having a Sorlet out there just for a 5 attacker that can then just expend the wind to change the position of an Elestral, that is huge. Sorlet does so much in this deck. It can be a menace when it actually hits the field. And it can do so much. So I really like 3 Sorlet in this deck. The 3 Pegas and the 3 Sorlet, that's like common though for the this is very common for Wind Toolbox decks, so that shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody. What I'm about to show you guys, this is a bit of a line that I'm still debating whether or not I want to play. 3 Nimbug, 2 Siracoon, and 1 Stratomoth. And I had to run the Stained Glass Stratomoth. I had to, okay? I just had to. But what exactly do these cards do? Well, Nimbug is a 1/1 that says you can expend a wind in order to special ascend this Nimbug into Siracoon from your hand or deck. Siracoon is a 1/6 2-cost Elestral that allows you to, during your draw phase, expend a wind to special ascend into Stratomoth from your hand or deck. Stratomoth is the big payoff for all of this. It gets +1 attack for each Nimbug and Siracoon on your field and in your underworld, and you can expend 1 1 wind in order to return each of your opponent's runes to the hand. The reason I have elected to play this in a deck that focuses on rune control is that Stratomoth, although it doesn't pop the runes, it does deal with them. It deals with them for 1 turn. It does make it so your opponent has to, your opponent does have to set them again, so they can't be used for that current turn. So I really like Stratomoth in this deck for that reason. I have been tempted to cut this line. In fact, in the latest update of this deck, I have cut the Stratomoth line. I've actually changed it out with a Flammoth line, but I think even that I'm going to probably cut. I'm still debating, but we'll see. I have in future versions of this deck cut the Stratomoth line, but without the Frostfall cards, I really like this line. It has come up at times, and Stratomoth can just be a very, very good beater when it hits the field. Usually ends up being an 11-5, which isn't too bad, to be entirely honest. So I really like the line for that reason. Next up, for just some support, 3 Elechick and 3 Astrabit. This is pretty standard for a Thunder kind of package. You run the 3 Elechick to get to your Divine Rune, you run the 3 Astrabit to just have a very consistent toolbox kind of card. 2/5, and obviously had to be running the Shattered Stars version. I could run the Stellars, but that's currently in my Thunder deck, so, or is it even, I forget which deck I have it in. I have it in some sort of deck, but I really like the 3 Astrabit. And the 3 Elechick helped me get my plays going. So that's it for the Elestrals. For the runes, we're starting things off with the big payoff for Elechick. Obviously, we had to be running 3 copies of Aeolus. Aeolus is just a crazy card. Just allows you to enchant up to 4 wind to it. You can get up to 5. Usually I'm enchanting either just an extra 1 or I'm enchanting 3. I'm getting always up to either 2 or 4. As you can see from the Elestrals, we're not playing Exaltair. I have thought about bringing it into the deck, but since this deck doesn't focus on using the entirety of Wind Toolbox, even though it is technically a Wind deck, I wanted to focus on the rune control stuff. I didn't want to focus on any burn or anything. If I am playing Exaltair, I would probably enchant 5 to this card, just because Exaltair with a 5 Aeolus is just absolutely insane. Just burns your opponent for 2, and then you can attack for 3. Like, it's actually insane. So, very crazy stuff. But you can disenchant 2 from the Aeolus to search your deck for the Elestral with enchantment cost of just 1 win and add it to your hand. It's very, very powerful and does a lot. Next up, 2 bag of winds. I am so tempted to actually up this card to 3. I am not even kidding you. Bag of Winds is kind of insane. The Empowered Elestral gets +2 defense and cannot be targeted by opponent's rune. When Aeolus is enchanted and the Empowered Elestral destroys an Elestral in battle, you can target and destroy a rune. This is incredible. The main forms of removal that people are playing are Earthquake and why am I forgetting what it's called? Resting on Your Laurels. Those are the main forms of removal that people are playing. There's basically nobody currently playing stuff like Kinliel, Boombat. There's no one playing any of the Elestral cards that can remove Elestrals. Everyone's just basically playing EQ or Laurels, which Bag of Winds accounts for both of those. Bag of Winds says the Empowered Elestral cannot be targeted by opponent's runes, which is very, very powerful because it prevents your opponent from going Rest on Your Laurels. It prevents them from going EQ on your guys. Bag of Winds is very, very powerful to throw onto a Fowlicane for a couple of reasons, actually. First of all, it puts the Fowlicane up to 5 of defense. So if your opponent does like Tsunami you to defense position, that's a very easy way to deal with a Fowlicane, is putting it into defense position with a Tsunami, since it only has 3 defense. But if you put Bag of Winds on that Fowlicane, it gets it up to 5 defense, which not a lot. There isn't really a lot that can attack over that. But also, it's immune to Tsunami. It's immune to, EQ and Resting. So I really like Bag of Winds for that reason. It's a very good card to throw into the Fowlicane, and just for that reason, that's why I'm tempted to play 3 copies of this card. I think I actually have dropped this card in the current version of the deck I have with the Frostfall card. To be entirely honest, I'm still thinking about bringing it back. I'm still tinkering with that deck before Frostfall releases. Might give you guys an update of this deck in the future, because so far, this is probably my favorite Elestrals deck. I'm not even kidding you. So, hopefully that looks good, but let's keep on going. For just the generics, we are running 3 Ambrosia. You are going to be going through your Spirit deck in this deck so fast. You are spending so many spirits. If anything gets dealt with, you're gonna want Ambrosia to bring that back, which is why I'm actually very excited for Nemisail. Nemisail in this deck is gonna go crazy. So once we get access to Nemisail, absolutely that's being thrown into this deck as an additional Aeolus target. But let's see how it goes. And then just for the generic counter rune stuff, we are running the triple Tsunami, the triple Shield, the triple Gorgons. Ignore the one in the middle, don't worry about that, and double PTA. I kind of do want to run 3 PTA and only 2 Gorgons. In my experience, PTA is a more powerful card than Gorgons, but I'm going basically just off what the meta is kind of saying. Which is, this is the current lineup. They should be running 3, 3, 3, and then just 2 PTA. I have seen some decks running the 3rd PTA. It's a little weird, but also I feel like I do need to address the elephant in the room. Why is this Gorgon's Gaze so freaking fat? Well, since Gorgon's Gaze and PTA are actually pretty difficult to obtain as of right now, I was missing 1 copy of Gorgon's Gaze. I still am missing 1 copy of Gorgon's Gaze for this exact deck, so I had to go ahead and proxy it. And I did that, but the size was wrong, so I just went ahead and rolled with it. So don't worry, that is a proxy. I do have 3 copies of Gorgon's Gaze. I just have a bunch of different decks, so we're going through that. But this is the entire deck. Obviously, this is the runes. You saw the Elestrals. Let's go over the Spirit deck real quick. The Spirit deck is pretty simple. It's very similar to a lot of what you've seen in other decks. We are running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 copies of Lycoris, 1, 2, 3, 4 copies of Zaptor, and 2 copies of Leviathan. This is basically standard. You will see a lot of decks nowadays, they focus on 1 element and they put 14 of that spirit in their deck. They have a side element that usually is Thunder if you're not playing a Thunder deck. Usually it's just going to be Astrab and Zaptor. A lot of Earth Beatdown decks are playing Astrab and Zaptor, so they're just playing the 4 for that exact reason. This is sort of your side. And then the 2 Leviathan for Tsunami specifically. That's what a lot of people like to play. That's what I am running. I'm running this sort of setup in a lot of my decks. And my Earth Beatdown deck, it's 14 Teratlus, 4 Zaptor, 2 Leviathan. I can't think of any specific anything else specifically off the top of my head, but that's basically how it works. I don't actually have any fire decks with the exception of Krakatuga, but that's half fire, half water, so it's not really exactly that. But this is the entire deck. I've seen success with this deck. Granted, not at like a tournament level necessarily, but I have seen success in this deck just going up against some of the other decks, and I really want people to actually look at just how powerful Fowlicane actually can be. If this card hits the field, it is devastating. This card is unbelievable. It does so much, and I really like it in this deck. So that's going to be it for the video, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, make sure to slap the like button and subscribe for more. Hope to see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.